As of 2022, it seems like Stoicism needs no introduction. It's become quite a pop philosophy, to be honest. But what exactly is this curly haired bronze horseman telling us that's so ever important? Well, basically, what Stoicism is about is that you take the reins of your life by only focusing on what you can control and disregarding what you cannot, so you can't be impacted by it. The classic example is you're going out grocery shopping and it starts raining. Did you bring a hoodie or an umbrella? Great, you've come prepared. You did not? Well, there's nothing to protect you from the rain. Just weather the storm. No amount of lamenting or complaining will make the rainy time stop any sooner than nature intended. And that's what you'll often hear. And with it being true, the Stoics did preach to become unmoved by externals. Yet this will not teach you, like just by that quote, you won't learn how to deal with financial stress, with loss of a loved one, with being offended, like taking offense. So it seems like you need a bit more than just like that one catchy example to understand it. A long time ago, some 2,500 years or so, a Greek man by the name of Zeno taught lessons of virtue and living in tune with nature as the key pillars of what was to become the Stoic philosophy. The plenty of stoas of ancient Athens served as the classrooms for a school of thought that would lift slave, master, and emperor to eudaimonia, the highest state of happiness that can be achieved. For this, all we need to do is to follow the virtues of life, which the Stoics consider to be wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. So, wisdom is our ability to separate the good from the bad and the indifferent. The goodies of life are honesty and courage. The baddies are dishonesty and procrastinating on things that we actually care about. This thing, the indifferent, for the Stoics, there's preferred and dispreferred indifference. So these things in itself aren't goodies or baddies. It's just the way that we look at it. For the Stoics, for example, um, health and sickness is an indifference. Poverty and wealth is an indifference. Is it preferred to be wealthy and healthy? Yes, yet not being it does not impede us from living a happy life. For many others, can. For as Epictetus put it in his discourses, you need to suspend desire completely and train aversion only on things within your power. You should dissociate yourself from everything outside yourself, the body, possessions, reputation, books, applause, as well as a lack of office, because a preference for any of them immediately makes you a slave, a subordinate, and prone to disappointment. Courage is not the rejection of our complaints, anxiety, or angst. It is the perseverance in opposition to our complaints, anxiety, and angst. Courage is the act of overcoming those feelings that threaten to cause cowardice. For as Seneca put it, who hasn't noticed how much easier they are in the actual doing? It's not because they're hard that we lose confidence. They're hard because we lack the confidence or courage. So, example, I've talked about this on the video about college tips, but it takes way more courage to actually push away the daily dose of distractions and not procrastinate, to just pick up the work and start studying way before your exams, or like to actually try and give up your all and sacrifice a lot of like pleasures and spare time. That takes way more courage than just ignore them and procrastinate to the last minute and wing it whether you'll get it or not. Not just in the legal sense, a broader look is needed. How do we treat other humans, nature herself, our society as a whole? Are we in support and aiding the advancement of it, or are we parasites profiting and abusing the others? Epictetus goes actually deep into this, especially topics regarding home wrecking and infidelity. For that one little yeah, probably, of climax is detrimental for the ones partaking, the victims around it, but as well as the trust and respect of society as a whole. So just us partaking and making, like, let's say infidelity more and more common mainstream, it just rots society as a whole. Because how can you trust your neighbor if you know it's that common, you know? How can you trust your partner, or how can you feel confident with your partner if it's such a common practice? It just rots society as a whole. Temperance or moderation. Who does not enjoy indulging in the sweet treats of life, and not just once, but as much as possible? Hedonism might lead you to constant gratification, yet you'll end up pursuing ever-changing toys and sceneries, ultimately bound to them. But if we partake in the pleasures of life with a sense of self-control and discipline and moderation, those treats will be way sweeter. Taking a look at the collective work of Einzelgänger Stoicism for inner peace, the Stoics concluded that even the poorest of people can have the happiest of lives. So whenever we're hit with financial stress, how can we actually mitigate with that? Well, point one is getting back to the basics. Maybe live at your means or below. For a lot of people that lack a lot of things are still very happy. Second of all, ask for help. For just like a wounded soldier that still needs to like assault the castle and needs a hand from a comrade, you too can ask for help and like drop the mask of not needing anyone to aid you at any point. Third of all, my bad, focusing on what we can control in the present instead of imagining all these possible future doomsday scenarios we often have. Because just as Seneca put it, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. So take a step back and focus on what you can control in the present, maybe a side job, maybe sell some things before you start panicking about defaulting on a bunch of bills perhaps, or panicking about a bunch of stuff you'll be missing out on. Fourth point, remember that you are not alone, for but a few are wealthy, yet most of us live a decent life. And if so by fate you end up a poor man, down and out on your luck, Seneca would simply say, I may be a poor one, but I'll be one of the many. Fifth point, putting tranquility at first. Epictetus and Diogenes were very like extreme in this, not being bound by any like physical materials or person, for that ultimately leads to disappointment. Yeah, you know, the more we care about these external stimuli, the more we're imprisoned by them. If we want to uphold a certain image, you'll have more financial stress because you'll be working to uphold that image while it does not actually satisfy you that much. And lastly, showing gratitude for what you actually have. So these are tips the Stoics will give us in times of financial stress, maybe like right now even. On the loss of a loved one. When giving your child or wife a kiss, repeat to yourself, I'm kissing a mortal. How often do we forget that what we have can be taken away like bah, at a snap? One famous Stoic, on being told that his son died, simply replied with, I always knew he was immortal, which, to be actually that dedicated and embody a philosophy, is insane to my mind, probably to yours as well, that you're unmoved by it. But it's more of, they want to put the Stoics wanted to put the emphasis that there is no ownership. And when the two of you were together, nature, faith, whatever you want to call it, bound you together. And whenever the two of you were separated, nature merely took back what was never yours to begin with. Knowing that nothing lasts makes you less attached, for whenever eventually those things don't belong to you or are taken away from you. For Epictetus reminds us that if we're bound to a nice pair of jeans like these, we're controlled by him. Like, I worked hard to buy these pair of jeans, and then I go outside and I'm scared to like stain them or whatever. So I barely I wouldn't wear them. And if I'm wearing them, like, I'm hyper vigilant of not staining them, which ruins the experience of just being outside. So I'm very much bound to that pair of jeans, which is, it rots. It really, like, everyone knows this. Whenever you're wearing like your own thing, you're like your favorite shirt, suit, whatever, pair of shoes, is like you don't want anything stained. Obviously, you want to keep them quickie clean, that's clear, but we're very much bound to them, which ruins a bit the experience of it. So should it be with persons, if you kiss your child or brother or friend, you must remind yourself that you love a mortal and that nothing that you love is your very own. It is given you for the moment, not forever, nor inseparably, but like a fig or a bunch of grapes at the appointed season of the year. And if you long for it in winter, you are a fool. So too, if you long for your son or your friend when it is not given you to have him, know that you are longing for a fig in winter time. So Epictetus just gives us the tips that if we bound ourselves to all these things, whatever they might be, this phone, like I'm definitely bound to this phone. If we let that impact us too much, something that's that easily taken away from you, you'll end up being disappointed all the time or hurt. Epictetus went very far into this. Like the only thing that would control him was his mind. He would step up to an emperor if the emperor wanted to chop off his head. He'd say, "Go ahead, dumb pun. Go ahead. Like it doesn't influence me. Oh, you wanna chop off my arm? I'm perfectly fine. Or you wanna banish me to a foreign realm? I'll be perfectly fine. Because as long as we have our mind and our like determination, we can weather basically anything." Looking at things like a man, like a human being, and among the things you turn to, these two. First, that things have no hold on the soul. They stand there, unmoving, outside it. Disturbance comes only from within, from our own perceptions. Secondly, that everything you see will soon alter and cease to exist. Think of how many changes you've already seen. How can we put this to test for like being offended? Well, it's clear. Other people, like these externals, they don't have to influence us. It's a decision to let them influence us. If you are telling a lie about me, that could be offensive. Why should I take offense to it? It is clearly a lie. It's not truthful. It's stupid to let that influence me. And if the another person is telling something that's truthful about me, maybe something I'm a bit ashamed of, yet it's the truth, why would I let that impact me? Like, it's reality. So with that mentality, you can make like a mental fortitude, an unoffendable armor that will wither you through any assault. Lastly, the bronze horseman himself put this lovely on living virtuously. Live a good life. If there are gods and they are just, then they will not care how devout you have been, but they will welcome you based on the virtues you have lived by. If there are gods but unjust, then you should not want to worship them. If there are no gods, you will be gone, but you will have lived a noble life that will live on in the memories of your loved ones. A main takeaway thing is this is definitely not me being preachy, for I do not pretend to embody all these qualities all at the time, not at all. Just take it as you and me, we're in the same hospital, separated by one bed. I've been laying here for a couple of weeks, you've just came in, and I'm giving you recovery tips, for the both of us are suffering from the same illness. Welcome to the end scene. I hope y'all enjoyed this. This was like a quick little summary of like the basics of Stoicism and a couple of life lessons. Honestly, I was very intrigued by it for a long time, following things on YouTube and stuff like that. And even like reading meditations once. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think this is the best way to get into it and have a deeper understanding. So I dedicated like a month or two, maybe a bit longer, let's say three, yeah, to like dive a little bit deeper into them. So these books, so Stoicism for Inner Peace by Ansel Ganger, is a collected work. Preferably, I'd say you'd read like the source material of the Stoics, and here is Diogenes included as well, to have a deeper understanding of which tips, which tools can make you weather that emotional storm. But the most important test is when you're in control, it's very easy to be stoic. Yet once all the leashes slip out of your hands one by one, then it shows how much of this you've actually internalized and how much of a stoic you actually are. And that's the true test of stoicism. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Aitomos.